Right.
Oh, okay.
Elliot, everyone else came in here in their stinky riding kit. You're a different vibe. What have you been up to this afternoon that was so important?
Okay, so I went riding earlier today.
Yeah, you did.
With you. Let me pull it back. Let me get my sock game going. Went riding with you. Saw Greg Menard do a backflip.
That's fucking nuts.
That was crazy. No, he told me before. He was like, hey, I got something. They don't know it yet, but I have something. So we rode Dirt Merchant. He backflipped like the step up after the drop. And then I just came from golfing.
You went golfing?
Yeah. A quick nine with Bassman Steenbergen and Kirk McDowell. And yeah, had a little conversation at SRAM with some really cool people. There's like a really cool conference around what does it mean to like build a bike park, like a summer for bike parks. So the Whistler is holding a conference in a couple weeks. And so it's like all ski, like bike parks, like around the country and stuff like that. And so, yeah, we were having a conversation about that. And now I'm having a conversation with you.
Well, you're a man of many trades, racer, commentator, inspiration, also computer coder. What the fuck's that about?
You know what's so funny is I would say I'm probably better at computer coding. Yeah, okay. I'm a better computer coder than I am racer now, which I don't know if is maybe sad.
Do you think you get your flowers for racing?
I think so.
Do you know what I mean? Like, do you think that? 'Cause obviously, I think similar with Rob.
Yeah.
They know you. Like, the audience knows you as this really valuable commentator that's got this insight. Like, Rob fucking won a World Cup. You've top 10.
Yeah. I think I kind of wish there was a time when I wish I would have like raced for a couple more years. Cause like the last year I raced, like I got a top 10, but the thing that I'm probably like most proud of is like, I had some bad races, but I like won a couple, like probably a handful of splits. Like Fort William, I had really good race, I think somewhere else. And so like for me, that was like, oh, I had the speed, but I couldn't really put it together. Just kind of like fell out of love with it, and then fell into something that I like love just as much.
If we went back to a young Elliot Jackson, do you think you'd be more inspired by the current state of World Cup racing or the hardline side of things? Because you were a rider that was known as being like very fast, very aggressive. You kind of had that forward style, and you really make the bike work. Do you think that would be? I don't know that sort of moto-esque committed style is the speed's got so high, but you see what I mean?
What's interesting is like hardline wheel started when I was still racing, and I guess you would like maybe classically say that like, oh, that was like meant for you or whatever, like you like jumps and you race World Cups or whatever. But for some reason I never did it. I think when I was racing it was really about like, how do you try to just be the best in the world or whatever, And so there was a period in my career where I really, really loved filming and doing videos, around like when I was on Yeti 11 and 12, and then like 13, 14, 15, probably. I was just like, I loved filming videos. I was like, let's go and race, but where is the video going to be? Like, we're going to go to Queenstown. We're going to do something cool. Like, I want to do the biggest scrub, right? That's like out there. Like, I want to build a jump where I can do like the biggest whip. And it was always a bit gnarly, because it did feel like you were trying to push the limit. And then 16, 17, like my last 2 years racing, it was like purely, let's just optimize everything. That's all I want to do, is like try literally to just be the fastest I can possibly be on a bike.
Well, what we want to do this podcast is we basically go for a ride. Normally people don't go play golf. They're meant to come straight in here and we're sweaty boys when we get through it. But, some people have a different style of lifestyle. It's all about kind of like capturing like the thrill of riding, the conversation together. And something you told me, an amazing story about your first essentially family trip to Val d'Isole World Cup when you got the points together.
Yeah.
Can you run me through that? It was your mum and your brother went over with a multi-tool.
Yeah,
and
sure.
that was about it.
I will tell the medium length version of it. So I obviously grew up racing motocross, and that was all we did. I was like, didn't go to school, like middle school or anything, because we were racing motocross like, 6 days a week or practicing like 6 days a week. And then stopped when I was about 15. And then when I was 18, I got my first downhill bike. And there was this movie called Three Focus that the Parkins brothers did that I just loved. I loved like Earth 4 and 5. And I just was like, I just want to race World Cups. Like, this is all that matters. And so I got my first downhill bike, actually came up here to Whistler, and I got hurt in 2009. And then 2010, I started in Cat 1. And you needed to win 2 races. I went to like some local race, went to Sea Otter, won. The guy in second place said I was sandbagging. We got in a fight because I was like, if I wouldn't have won, you would have won.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
And so I got my pro license.
I like to think and that was Aaron Gwynn, ladies and gentlemen. You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so I like got my pro license after those first 2. Like, this is all 2010. Went and started racing the nationals because you needed pro points at the time, like 15 UCI points. Me and my mom were traveling around the country, went to Plattekill, I crashed, then went to national champs, crashed, like qualified 5th and crashed. And I'd read the rule book so much that I started talking to the commissaire, like Mark Gullickson was his name. He was like the USA Cycling Federation guy. And I was like, can I go to a World Cup? He's like, well, like so many people want to go to Wyndham. It's the first year the World Cup is in the US from a long time. And I was like, well, what about Val di Sole? And he was like, well, that's next week. And I was like, if I get myself there, like, will you sign me up?
Fuck yeah.
And he was like, yeah. So I had been on a road trip with my friends. I was like, I'm going straight from Colorado to Italy. I had never been out of the country before. So my mom and my brother went. I'm like 20 years old or whatever. And like can't rent a rental car or anything. So like we go. I don't have any sponsors or anything. And me and my brother were just like walking up and down the track. We're like, yeah, this is the gnarliest thing ever. And then at one point we do practice. I'm like feeling good. And then it starts to rain. And Val di Sole, when it rains, is the most terrifying thing ever. I was like, I'm done riding. And my brother's like, well, why don't you let me take the bike down?
Insane.
And I mean, obviously he's like a pro BMXer, like race motocross, so he's good. And I was like, well, whatever, like you put on my gear and you ride the track. And so he goes up the track and rides the downhill track, gets a flat or whatever. And like, you know, it was back in the day when so many people were racing, and he would be like, you know, it's me and a guy from, you know, Antarctica or something.
Yeah.
Like, so that happened. And then I did qualifying. There was a gap at the top. I do the gap. I break my chain guide. That goes into my back wheel. Derailleur breaks off. Spokes are off. No chain on the bike. And I'm like, you don't have to pedal. Just go for it. Qualify like 67th or something.
Oh, this
like,
is 80 back in the day.
When 80 was happening. I like felt all this pressure kind of thing. I ended up getting like 70 something in the finals with a good run with pedaling. And that was really like the start of my career. I came here to Crankworks for the first time, met up by happenstance with like Sven Martin and Brendan Faircloth, and like they had kind of heard of me a little bit, and they were just like these superstars. I ended up shooting with Sven and getting on a slideshow.
Sven was like, I saw you in Val di Sole, you were hauling. Yeah. Then you got that flight, you're like, fuck's my brother.
Yeah.
Andrew, get up here.
It's so funny, right? Like the way that kind of played out, where you like, it was just me, just like wanting to do this thing, practicing, doing it, like going there with nothing, going there with nothing as in like no idea.
Yeah.
And then coming here, and then I got on Yeti the next year, and that was
That's
like
amazing.
Yeah, first of my World Cup career.
If it sounds like there is some kind of stomp concert going on in the background, it's because there is. We are right in the middle of Crankworks, being very kindly hosted by Maxxis, and the whip-up is going to start any second now.
That's true. We're cutting it close.
Are you not tempted to get those slippers back out and
You
throw
know,
down?
I wonder. I miss crabapple. I think maybe next year. I've been like this fall, like my goal in life is just to ride a bunch. So I kind of want to do some stuff next year. Like Santa Cruz and I always do like a really cool video every year. Like this year, you like mentioned
That
the musician.
cam.
Yeah. That was. I mean, Scott Secco he's amazing. Like if you, not because of my riding, but like we did one 2 years ago. And he had this like one shot. He was like hopping in and out of vans to get this shot. Like amazing filmmaker. And then this year we shot again, and I played the music for the song, and then like he did all these really cool match cuts with the guitar and e-bike. So yeah, super cool.
What do you think? I know it feels, without trying to, blow smoke up your ass, it's like you're very adaptable to a lot of different things. What do you think is, what in this current, in this year, this moment, this time, what inspires you the most? What do you feel is like your home? Is it the commentating? Is it doing cool movie segments? Is it fucking, the music? What is it?
Yeah, interesting question.
Because for me, it's Counter-Strike or bikes, but Counter-Strike is pretty fucking sick. Just pinging heads, just bam, bam. It's pretty good, man.
I know. I think I guess I've always had so many different interests. But if I had to pick something like right at this very moment, it is maybe two opposite things. One is like we started doing this Red Bull analysis series where I get to be like the most nerdy thing. It's like on social media. So I just get to scrub through like World Cup footage and find where somebody like slipped a pedal, which is very interesting to me. And I think it's just like really like truly enjoying, maybe you would say, the like fruits of the labor, right? Like being able to come and sit with you. Like we met, probably almost 10 years ago, like so many good friends. And I think really like trying to be present in that now and be like, this is crazy that I get to be here and do this and do what I love and whatever. And it's really fun.
It's pretty cool. Now, Lettuce might be choking to death. I saw him waving, but
how do you reconcile that with the idea of like athletes needing to be super single-minded? Do you think mountain bike is like at the scale where actually you can be a Renaissance man and still perform?
Yeah, I have a really strong opinion about this, which is that is always the idea from outside of sport. And so people think that like sport is very deterministic, where it's like, oh, this person trains the hardest, so they are the winner. This person is like only has this one focus, so they are the winner. And like, I really wish sports were that easy, that like I could just train for 8 hours and then go and win a race. But I think sport for me at the really top level is really like, how well do you know yourself and how close can you get yourself to like the maximum performance? And if you need to like go on a book reading retreat to like get yourself in the zone and like nourish yourself or whatever, like that's what you should do. That's going to do like way more than like one more gym session. So I think like you have to be like training really, really hard is table stakes. And then what do you do on top of that? Like, and that is what like separates the like good from the great to me in all sports.
No, totally. I mean, I think it's really interesting. The idea of, I think we talk a lot about it as a culture, it's more like the presence but actually sometimes like, especially being a World Cup racer, I think to be present on the bike, you also have to have the ability to be present off it.
Yeah.
And sometimes to go in and turn off. I mean, talking to Greg, and it's like sometimes how little he rides his bike, you see what I mean, for the greatest of all time. And for me, I worry about not riding enough, like that someone's going to nab my 67th place on Strava KOM down some fucking trail,
I don't know if he said that to you guys, but he said a long time ago, like, you have to be able to turn off to turn on.
Right, yeah.
And so if you're running at if you're trying to run at 100% all the time, you're really just running at like 80 or 90% because it's just impossible to have that sort of intensity. And so there is downtime, and whatever that means, some people do yoga, some people just chill, some people, ride bikes even for that downtime, but it has to happen.
As we talk about something you said earlier on about the analysis side, I find it really interesting because I think mountain biking is getting a lot better, but I think it's maybe the curse of being a young sport where, in 10 years time, this generation that's had really professional from a young age will have qualified and be able to then give it really amazing punditry. But I think the problem was there was this like thing where, I don't know, there feels like a lack of true punditry in mountain biking. It's like, whether it's Greg Menard or whoever, who's the person that's qualified enough to critique his style?
Yeah.
But then we look at the World Cups and there are so many different styles.
Yeah.
And so many different setups. And one thing that I would love to see us borrow from other sports is the real like analysis, whether it's looking at techniques, whether it's looking at how people ride. Is that something that piques your interest? And so I've seen you do some really good stuff, the social clips. Maybe you did a great one on, for instance, Dakota's handlebars. And she explained it in really simple terms.
Yeah, I think there's like two things I think about like mountain bike punditry maybe in general. One is that we've always been such a tight knit community that it's really like not culturally acceptable to be like a Stephen A. Smith in the NBA. Because you kind of would get ostracized. Not that I'm not that person that would do that, but like you can imagine somebody doing that. And then I think the other piece of it, it was interesting. I was listening to a podcast with Michelle Wie, who is one of the greatest women golfers of all time. And they asked her, what is the difference between men and women's golf? And she said, we don't have enough stats. And so when somebody says, she's so good on the back nine, like so consistent, well, what are the numbers to back that up? And so you look at a commentary or something like that. When was the last time this person got a top 5 at this split? What is the average finish of this? Is France really that much better at home? Like, these are all the things that kind of help the storytelling and help bring people in and give context to things. So I do think about those two things. And I think like from the analysis side of things, like, it's also hard because it's like, man, the stuff like that I like really care about or whatever is so niche. Like it's so like, it's the most niche thing. Like one of the ones that I just did was like, oh, it rained. So Loic was able to take it inside and then he made up like, 0.8 or whatever on Jackson in these 2 turns, which almost cost him the win or whatever. But to be able to tell that story in like a bite-sized way when you're scrolling through Instagram is like, bit gnarly.
Yeah.
But doesn't that, we're talking about punditry, which is essentially saying whether someone was right or wrong to do something, which is sort of the line that isn't crossed in mountain biking.
Yeah.
But I think beyond just like a comparison with a timing at the end, your analysis might give you the ability to go, oh, this person was right or wrong to do something. Do you think we'll ever get to that level of punditry where someone goes, that was a mistake, that wasn't?
I mean, I think I try to do my best. I was having this conversation with Nico Malali because I think it is important for us as pundits, I guess, as these experts that are trying to communicate, to actually give a take. That looked like a mistake, or that looked really good, or, oh, she tried to go a little bit left there to miss this rock. I think in other sports, I think the athletes have the different sort of relationship with the media where the best take in terms of engagement and you would really say like growing the sport or whatever is a take that like 50% of the people agree with and 50% of the people don't.
Yes.
And I think like, a person like Shaq or Charles Barkley in the NBA does such a good job of that because they are unbelievably knowledgeable about the sport, but then they also are just like, this is my opinion, and we're kind of going with it. So I think that there's kind of like that side of it, which is like, when you say, will it ever get there? Like, I think if the sport is to grow, like eventually the media ecosystem, like ends up kind of getting there, but you do need the like skill and stuff as well.
I feel the punditry I really enjoy in other sports is not necessarily looking at how he kicked the football or how she did a backhand, but rather the decision-making process that meant that technique was right at the right time. So whether it's line choice or in soccer is a great example where it's like a real, like, they call it like having a footballing brain. Yeah. And they just have more time and they read it better. And then suddenly then they can then maximize their technique of being able to play that perfect through ball. Yeah. And when we talk about like line choice and stuff, I think it's really interesting to then see them maximize the concept almost.
Yeah. 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 And I think it's, I think like for me, like my role, I would say like my role is not like punditry kind of thing. Like I do feel like I like to, and I do kind of play like the expert role of kind of what you're saying of like the analysis. But I think also to your point, like the sport is getting a lot more professional in that like all of these teams do have line coaches and they have line spotters. And, you have somebody like Joe Smith now going to the races, this amazing World Cup racer for Norco now. And he is able to like give this insight to the riders. So I think you know, even just in the last couple of years, like World Cup racing has really progressed in a lot of ways.
I don't know if it's a fair question to ask because you do work for Red Bull, who was obviously not having the rights to the World Cup, so they're very much old news now. But when it comes to that sort of thing, do you think that is that guidance or is it maybe too much instruction? Because part of the thing about having like a bigger field where maybe the teams don't then have so much budget to be able to call the shots or have these huge, when it's a bit more kind of pokey and a bit more privateer based, it is more like kind of it's keeping those lines a secret, working out for yourself. Which and it's not one's not necessarily better than the other, but as someone that's raced and then seen it grow and change, what do you think the sweet spot is?
Do you mean in terms of like within a team or just like the amount of information?
The amount of information, like when it was, you know, I remember when I was wrenching the World Cups and it would be like, there'd be maybe the team manager would go up if he had time.
Right.
And now it's like there's a whole raft of people saying this is the right decision.
Right.
There is no gut.
Yeah.
Or maybe less of a gut instinct.
Yeah, it is super interesting. I think in the past you had the track gets figured out now. Like there will be one or two lines. Maybe you see a Jackson or Reese Wilson or maybe Dakota do something really interesting, but there are lines that you have to take. And I noticed that I was talking to Bernard Kerr about that. Like a lot of the time, because they don't have as much infrastructure, I'll see him, like if I am at the races, like I'll see him and the team might be on a line a little bit late, right? Like, and so, you know, Loic or somebody is hanging out and he gets a text message, or, you know, at Canyon or whatever, Luca will get a text message and it's like, hey, this is probably the line, you know, like, or this line, you know, a route got cut out, or, you know, there's a new line that actually opened up like right by the tape. And if you don't see that, you only have 4 or 5 runs to kind of get up to speed. And so I think that is really the thing about like line spotting and stuff like that, is really just it's kind of like F1, right? Like you only get a certain amount of time on the track, and if you're gonna get that time on the track, make it the best it can possibly be.
Maximize it.
Yeah.
I think this place is there's lots of pizza arriving over your shoulder. It's smelling delicious. Lots of people are gonna come here and ask us, they're probably too polite to ask us to leave. So I'm gonna do that for us. Lettuce, what's your hot take?
No hot take, but every podcast we ask people about the trail that they just rode and stuff, and so I guess we have to ask you about your round of golf. So give us the breakdown.
I know I cheated because I told you already about the Dirt Merchant lap, but the round of golf, I play 7-iron only, and Bass.
The old tricky 7-iron. Did you see how well I played it earlier on when you said like the backhand off the 9? What was that like? I was like, what the fuck is that?
Bass had a driver out and it did not go well for him. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, this is fascinating. Do you know what these terms mean?
Of course.
This is basic.
I know what a driver is.
Me saying he dribbled a basketball and then he shot.
Man, these crazy North American terminology, man.
I don't know.
It's not cricket. It's not cricket.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know nothing.
No, I'm glad that you've managed to find another passion to whittle away at. Yeah. 7-iron or not.
Yeah. No, I'm actually horrendous. So that's okay. No, but thank you. Thanks for having me on this.
No,
this
dude, thank you for always. I know it's weird because we met when I was working a bike shop. You were some big time racer.
Yeah.
And we became friends. And over the years, I've asked for so many favors and asked for so many things. And you've always been like, I'll fucking come on your shitty little podcast.
No,
Every time.
I said it to you as we were riding up the lift, but I'm super like proud of you and everyone on the team for like making this happen. I think it's like very much needed, very much appreciated. And I'm subscribed.
Thank you so much.
Gonna like this one. I'll downvote Greg's, but all good.
No, thank you so much for the support and for actually coming on.
Yeah.
Now let's
anytime.
eat fuckloads of pizza.
Let's do it.
Sick.